What's up, world? Welcome to a new episode of the BrandonJaneauShow. As you know, I am Brandon Janeau, and like always, on podcast platforms everywhere, BrandonJaneauShow. On YouTube channel, BrandonJaneauShow, and like always, social media platforms, BrandonJaneauShow, Instagram, TikTok, it's BrandonJaneauShow. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode tonight. It's Life in Times with music. Yeah. Let's get into it, man. So I haven't done an artist in a minute, like an artist, just talk about an artist or a label in a minute. And so I wanted to talk about one tonight. I wanted to talk about the one and only Bruno Mars. I did his album breakdown 24K Magic. I know I gotta do a debate with 24K Magic, and I think I'm gonna do his debut album, Do Wops and Hooligans. So that's coming soon. But I wanted to talk about, Bruno Mars, man. Bruno Mars has become one of the best artists in like the decade. Like in the past decade, he's become the guy. Like hell, it's kind of crazy to think he really took off in like 2010. Like with Nothing on You came out, and then a billionaire with him and Travis McCoy. Of course, Nothing on You with B.O.B. And then he took off with his album, The Wops and Hooligans in 2010, he's become such an iconic figure. And the crazy thing is, he's only got like 3 albums. Like he's only done 3 fucking albums. Like you think I'm crazy? Like, go check the fucking stat. He's only done 3 albums in his entire career. Do Wops and Hooligans, the Do Wops and Hooligans. I forgot the other fucking art unorthodox jukebox. I think it's called unorthodox jukebox, and then 24K Magic. And of course, if you want to count Silk Sonic, so that's 4. But technically, that's a group project. So it's about 3 solo projects. He's only done 3 solo albums, and for him to have this much of a hold on the music industry like he has had, it's pretty crazy, man. To see him be 13 years into the game and have only 3 fucking albums, 3 bodies of work solo wise, and 4 if you count the Silk Sonic project, which again was a fucking chokehold on the game. I wish Silk Sonic would have dropped that album when it wasn't a pandemic. I think if that album would have came out like now, it would shut the fucking game down. It would shut the industry down. And I would love to go see them on tour. I just saw Anderson .Paak at the Dave Chappelle show. It was so dope to see Anderson .Paak just come out and just drum and do drums and just play, just do something. But to see him and Bruno Mars do something, that would have been dope as motherfucker. That would have been dope as a motherfucker. But Bruno Mars is one of those artists, man, that you gravitate towards when you first heard him. And I did, I definitely did. I mean, Nothing on You was such a big fucking hit for B.O.B. that it skyrocketed his career. Like it made his career even better than when he dropped Planes. It was just like done. Airplanes. It was kind of like done deal. But Bruno Mars, on the other hand, he took off, man. And then you find out all of these songs he's written for people, like CeeLo Green. He wrote "fuck you," like he wrote "fuck you," like for CeeLo Green. Like it was like what? And like, you hear that shit, like what? Like it's shit like that, man. I think for an artist like you know Bruno Mars to have the career he's had and has expanded, and I can't wait when he does drop his next album because it's kind of interesting now. Where does he go? Excuse me, with the sonic like sound that he has, the incredible way he creates music. Where does he go now? Because he just did Silk Sonic. That was kind of like an ode to the '70s funk era. 24K Magic was kind of like a a respect and a ode to the New Jack Swing era in the '90s. Unorthodox Jukebox is kind of like a '60s jazz album. And then his first album was kind of more like a modern day popish album. So now you kind of ask, where does this man go as an artist? Because that's really what the interesting part of this shit is. Because where does he go as an artist? I think he's one of the rare few that can actually decide his fate whenever he feels like it. A lot of people say this with Kendrick, right? Kendrick is one of those artists that when he drops an album, he changes the tone of the industry. I think Bruno Mars is the same. I think when he drops an album, he changes the tone of the music industry because now you have to pay attention to what he does. Like I said, Silk Sonic album was as '70s funkadelic as you can get. like Brucey Collins producing the project with them. Like that was a '70s funkadelic as you can get it. Like, and it worked because it wasn't just the old school sound. It was a way that they created that. Anderson .Paak and him created that. You know, listen to Bruno Mars on not just his debut album or any of those songs at the beginning. The fact that he also got a chance to work with, Bad Meets Evil, which is, Royce the Five Nine and Eminem, Lighters, which is one of my favorite songs off that project. And then you see him work with Lil Wayne on the Carter Four, which is one of my favorite Lil Wayne songs, Mirrors. Mirror is like it's a different type of energy, man. Like the dude is a different type of artist. I don't think a lot of people understand greatness like that. Like it's rare when you get a true artist in a generation. And like I said, I think he's one of those artists that shifts the game because he doesn't drop a lot. I think you don't really hear him a lot. And it's the same thing with like Kendrick. You don't hear them a lot. When you don't hear them, if their album's not coming out, you don't hear them collab with a lot of people. You don't hear them do a lot of shit. And I feel like that's what Bruno is. Bruno is a very I'm gonna watch how the music scene is, and then when I drop, it's gonna change the tone of the music scene and a temperature in the music scene. And I think that that is the guy that Bruno Mars is. You know, Do Ops and Hooligans is one of my favorite projects. I mean, he's got one of my favorite songs off of that album, Liquor Store Blues with him and Damian Marley, which is still one of my favorite songs. I love that fucking song to death. I remember this is how crazy this is. I literally was up one night, and this is when MTV still used to play videos. I remember watching MTV2, and I remember like the video came on, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I saw it was Bruno Mars. I'm like, he ain't really let me down yet as a musician, so might as well look at the music video. And him and Damon Marley, and this song was so reggae tone. I was like, bro, that shit fire. And by the end of the verse, you know, got to the hook of the song. By the end of the first, lines of it, first verse of the song, I got to the hook, and I was like, I gotta find this song. I was like, I gotta find this fucking song. And I looked it up and I found it and I was like, yo. And then you hear Runaway Baby and then you hear, Talking to the Moon. And you hear this album and it's like Grenade pops off. And Grenade's a fucking massive fucking hit. Just the just the way you are. And all of these songs, you're like, this dude is different. You count on me, which is like the most upbeat fucking song, bro. Like you can count on me like 1, 2, 3. It's like the most upbeat fucking song. They got this shit playing at malls, bro. Like that's like you be in the elevator that somebody plays and they just got this song. Like the fuck? Like yo, the fuck is this? Bruno Mars is one of them, man. That first album was like I said, it kind of like a modern day pop album where it was commercially loved, sonically respected, and it was something that he can do. And then you get Unorthodox Jukebox, which is completely the opposite of it, but it was kind of like an ode to the jazz era, where well, can't even say it was an ode to the jazz era, more so late '70s, early '80s when you have a song like Treasure and Locked Out of Heaven and and then you have kind of like the modern day jazz kind of feel uh when you young girls and stuff like that, like you have these songs on that project where it's kind of like older '70s '80s kind of rock pop, you know soul, um R&B. It was kind of like an interesting mixture, and it is an unorthodox jukebox because it was kind of like a mixture of the rock and it was a pop and it was a R&B soul. It was kind of like all of these albums lined up into one, and he created something like that. If I Was Your Man, when he was on there, like it was another fucking gorilla with him. Like he just created a whole another wave, and every song was different. Every song was different. Like Treasure was completely different than If I Was Your Man, and then and If I Was Your Man was completely different than Young Girls, and Young Girls was completely different than you know, Locked Out of Heaven. It was just a different type of album, a body of work. And you listening to this album, and you're like, man, this dude is different. You get to the realization of like, yeah, this dude is different. You get to the realization like, yo, this dude is different. And then you get and then he doesn't drop an album. You got to realize the album came out like late 2012, 2013. He doesn't drop another album until 2016. Like that's 4 years of not having a Bruno Mars project, and that's kind of interesting. Even in that time frame, he drops Uptown Funk with him and Mark Ronson, and that becomes a fucking juggernaut, and it becomes a motherfucking masterpiece. And little did we know that that was just the leeway into what his next album was, because it just took off. And 24K Magic, like I said on the album breakdown when I did it, is one of those albums that you listen to. And I think the thing about Bruno Mars is also he doesn't put a lot of songs on his albums, which is the best thing for a lot of artists. Some artists need to do that more. These motherfuckers that's playing the streaming game, it's a reason why so many people kind of lose what the fuck. Like they can't listen to everything you do. You got 26 songs on the project, and only like three of them bitches actually good, and then the rest of them kind of like mid to alright, and you deal with it. But with like 24K Magic or Unorthodox Jukebox, or even Doo Wops and Hooligans, even the Silk Sonic project, like he only has 10 songs. You think I'm tripping? You think I'm playing? Like I'm dead ass serious. Like he only has 10 songs on these projects, and it's like, what the fuck? He only has 10 songs on these albums, and you listen to these albums, you're like, man, this nigga need to drop more music. Like, but I think that's the key of being an artist like him, because he knows you're gonna want more. He knows it. He knows you're gonna want more music, and that is the thing about him. When he and I remember him winning the Grammys for like I think the best album of the year, song of the year. I think it was either record or song of the year at the Grammys, and he won those awards. And I think, and then people was like asking, like, I can't believe like Bruno Mars won these awards. Like, is he just that good? And is he the best artist in the? And yes, if you ever seen this man perform, I literally remember when Super Bowl 49 happened. I remember Super Bowl 49, and I remember the Super Bowl halftime show was announced, and it was Bruno Mars. And I remember people being like, "Wait a minute, Bruno Mars is gonna perform at the Super Bowl? Like the fuck? Is he even ready? It wasn't Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl 48 or 49. Can't remember. It was Seattle and Denver. I know it was 2013, and I remember like yeah, it was 2013. So Super Bowl 48. So I remember like the fans. I remember fans. Yeah, yeah. But I remember like a lot of people being like, "Yo, like Bruno Mars gonna perform at the Super Bowl? Like, is he even ready for that shit? It can't even headline a Super Bowl? Like, what the fuck is he? Like, what is he? What is this artist? Who is this guy?" And I remember like people really being like, kind of like, "Who is this guy? Like, can he even headline a Super Bowl?" And he performed at the Super Bowl that year, and it's one of the best Super Bowl performances, halftime performances ever. He was so good. He was so good at that performance. They had to bring him back at Super Bowl 50. like, think about that. He was so good. They were like, yeah, Super Bowl 50. Yeah, we're gonna have Beyonce, Coldplay, which by the way, I will be doing a Coldplay episode because that's one of my favorite rock bands. And we're gonna have Bruno Mars. We're gonna have Bruno Mars do the halftime show for Super Bowl 50. And that was the three artists. That was the artist that they wanted. They wanted Coldplay, Beyonce, and Bruno Mars. You gotta realize the magnitude of that. You gotta realize that the man was so good at that Super Bowl that he actually got another chance to perform at the Super Bowl. It was like we gotta have Bruno Mars perform at the 50th Super Bowl halftime show, because if he doesn't, I don't know what the fuck had happened. I remember that time frame. I remember people being like, Bruno Mars can't perform at no fucking Super Bowl. What has he done? And I remember being like, he's going to kill this fucking Super Bowl show. I was like, he is going to kill this Super Bowl show, and he did. One of the best artists in this generation, man. I'm proud to say I lived in an era where a Bruno Mars came around. You know what I'm saying? Like he does embody Prince in a sense, and I know that's like blasphemous for Prince fans, but he kind of embodies Prince. Like he does. He plays guitar, he dances. The way he does, he entertains, he kills. His song quality, everything about him. Prince also shaped the game when he dropped music. When Prince dropped, you knew Prince was coming. And he was a different type of caliber. Same thing with Bruno Mars. He's a different type of caliber, man. I'm not there to say he's in a conversation with the Princes and the Michael Jackson and all that. I'm not there. If this next album come out, we might have to have that conversation. But for the 3 albums that I've gotten, 4 albums that I've gotten from him, I've not been disappointed. And I think that that's something about an artist like him. I've never been disappointed when I've heard a Bruno Mars album. 24K Magic was one of those albums. When he dropped 24K Magic, the video and the song, and it blew the fuck up, and it was just like, whoa, what is this? And then that's what I like. And all these other songs, it just took the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? Like, finesse, paying homage to a living color. Like I said in the album breakdown, paying homage to a living color, which people want to have their own little things about him, what race he is, and all that, but he showed you right then and there, like he gets the culture. He understands what this culture is. You know what I'm saying? And then you have, calling all the lovelies with Holly Berry on it. Who the fuck gets Holly Berry to do like a little quick little, what I'm saying, like a skit on a fucking album? Like Bruno Mars gets it. That's who gets it. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of my favorite songs by him is also on that project, 24K Magic, which is Straight Up and Down, which is a fire song. Then he gets Zendaya to be in his Versace on the Floor video. Like, it's like, the dude is that type of guy. And then you get to the Silk Sonic project, and you think he can never do anything better than what he's been doing. And then he drops this project with Anderson .Paak, and he elevates Anderson .Paak to another level. If you wasn't rocking with Anderson .Paak before, if he wasn't rocking with his first couple albums, like Anderson .Paak dropped, then you probably never heard of Anderson .Paak, and then you hear him on this album with Bruno Mars, you're like, oh shit, who the fuck is this dude? And then you go research Anderson .Paak's music with songs like, you know, um, keep the door, uh, I'm gonna keep the door open, and all these other songs, and then all these songs of this project, you know what I'm saying? And it like I said, it embodies the '70s, embodies '70s funkadelic music and all of this, man. And it's just such a different type of caliber. Like I said, I don't know what he's gonna do next album. I really don't know. I don't know when it's coming out either. So that sucks even more. Um, he might drop it next year. He might not drop it until 2025. He might not even drop it at all. But I do think this, and I do say this: Bruno Mars is one of the best artists of this generation. And whenever he does drop, I will be ready to listen to the album because I know he's not dropping nothing that is stupid or fucked up. And he will change the way music is done when he drops, and that is very important. Until then, I am Brandon Janeau. This has been Life of Times of Music, and go listen to Bruno Mars on all musical platforms right now. Till then, peace.